Well, I've arrived in Istanbul safely, thankfully. It's been a long, tough day. I arrived in Romania, in Bucharest, from Dublin, within the EU. And when I touched down in Bucharest, a group of police officers, before anyone was allowed to leave the plane, were outside on the tarmac. And then they came up the ramp and they asked the cabin crew, who were very close to me, where I was. I identified myself, and 3 of these police officers came onto the plane and told me that I had to come with them, that I was being detained. So I was taken down the steps of the aircraft with all the passengers, watching in amazement, and taken directly into an interrogation area where I was asked questions in the vehicle by some of the officers where I was going, who I was going to meet. I explained to them I was a journalist. I was there to cover the elections. They wanted to know who I was going to be speaking to, which I declined to tell them. I said I'm here to cover the election, and with that I was brought to a holding area. I was made wait for a period of time, and then I was asked to come into a smaller interrogation room with 2 chairs and a table. I was sat down in the table. Again, there were some checks of who I was, and then I was presented with a document which obviously was prepared. It was stamped, presumably by a judge. They wouldn't let me have a copy of it. They wouldn't let me take a photograph of it. And it said that I was a threat to the security of the state, and on that basis they were deporting me from Romania. Now, I'm an EU citizen, and it's a fundamental breach of my rights, the rights of journalists. I'm a member of the National Union of Journalists also. I'd entered the country completely legally to do my job, and this is really quite shocking. But it isn't that shocking in the context of what's been happening in the European Union on a wider scale, particularly in Romania, and it's something I've been very, very vocal about. Now, I have to say, the police officers themselves, the Romanian people who I met, were absolutely courteous, very kind, and I really find it hard to believe that the ordinary Romanian people had absolutely anything to do with this or would support this, the idea that somebody would come to tell the story of what's happening in the country. So it's a very sad day, I think, for European freedom of speech, for global freedom of speech. I think we also have to ask ourselves, did anyone listen to J.D. Vance in Munich when he said that the European Union had to stop clamping down on freedom of speech? I think it's obvious to me, and actually to some other people who I met through this journey, that this came from Brussels rather than from Bucharest. So thankfully now I'm heading towards the end of the journey, a real eye-opener. But we go on, we push on, and we don't sit down, and we only take fire when we're over the target, as we say.